Yeah. Hi guys, my name is Salsabila, or you can call me Salsa, and today I'm going to be discussing briefly about Alfred Stieglitz. I stumbled upon him during our book chapter 1916b, and I thought it would be great to add him to this The Object Speaks project. A little backstory about him. He is a undoubtedly one of the most significant contributors in history of photography, and he is also known as the father of photography. Now let's jump to history about him. He was born in Hoboken, New Jersey in 1864, and for college he went to Germany, got enrolled in Berlin, Tennessee High School as an engineer. However, he did not like the subject at all. However, during his time over there, he spent an undetermined amount of time studying with the great photochemist Hermann Vogel, and during this time period, he committed himself to photography. After 8 years of English freedom, mostly in Germany, Stieglitz returned to the United States in 1890. He was convinced that photography could be considered a fine art, at least potentially the equal of painting, and the traditional graphic arts, and he was accustomed to getting his way. He quickly became the leader of photography fine art movement in the United States, which is a part of the international phenomenon back then. With his experience in 1892, he became the editor of Camera Notes, the publication of the Camera Club of New York, a position that allowed him to advance the photographers and policies he favored. However, during the 1902, he had to resign from the club because of the resentment within the club. Late in 1905, he opened the Little Galleries of Photo Session, which he was a huge part of the session movement. The name was shortened to 291, and the gallery addresses on Lower Fifth Avenue in New York City. His aesthetic convictions is that his belief in American values such as sincerity, honesty, and innocence class as much as possible. In his eyes, modernism and photography that distinguished became an antithetical. He, contrib- he contributed not only scientific and artistic photographies, but also introduced modern art into America and furthered the theory of photography as art. So he was very much pioneered within the photography movement in the United States, I believe. Now, I want to show you some of his works that I really enjoyed looking at. The first is the Fifth Avenue, Winter Fifth Avenue. Something interesting about this image photo when I first saw it, and when I dig deeper into it, he had a journal called Camera Work, and in that book he wrote, on Washington's birthday in 1893, a great blizzard raged in New York. I stood on the corner of Fifth Avenue, watching the lumbering coaches appear through the blinding snow and move northward on the avenue. The question formed itself: could I, could what I was experiencing see be put down with the slow plates and lenses available? The light was dim, knowing that where, where there is light, one can photograph. I decided to make an exposure. After 3 hours standing in the binding snow, I saw the stagecoach come struggling up on the street with the driver lashing his horses onward. At that point, I was nearly out of my head, but I got the exposure I wanted. With the passage that he wrote in his book, I really realized how he took his time to make this photography work. As a photographer myself, I guess, pre COVID, past COVID. It's really hard to get a actual good looking image in the blizzard snow, especially if it's a blizzard. The snow would like get in your lens, and sometimes the image would be like watery or blurry. But in this image, it's really clear. You can actually see the objects that you wanted to display, which is the horse and the carriage, and also the buildings behind it. And how he said he took 3 hours to take this image while waiting patiently really says about the saying, with time something precious comes, or something like that, or similar to that. I'm not really sure, but I do really like this image. I can see the movement like in the snow in the bottom half corner. The contrast is all kind of clear. It's really a fascinating image. I remember learning about it. He said that people think this image was like blurry or something, but he was determined, like very consistent, saying this is the image that I wanted with the negative that he has back then. And overall, I just think this is a very great image of a snowstorm being captured back in the 20th century. It's very influential, in my opinion. Um, the second image that I really like also has a snowing effect is the terminal. Um, it says he took this picture using a small 4.5 camera and not considered an instrument not considered at the time to be worthy of artistic photography. Unlike the unwidely 8 by 10-inch view camera, which required a tripod, this camera gave him a greater freedom and mobility to roam the city and respond quickly to the ever changing street life around him. The terminal predicts by over a decade of the radical transformation of the medium from painterly prints to rarefied subjects, what the critic Sadakichi Hartman dubbed straight photography. This new photography would take as its subject matter the quotation aspects of modern urban life using only techniques that are unique to the medium. At the same time, it is in this and other photographs he made around the turn of the century, Stieglitz used natural elements such as smoke, rain, snow to often and unify the image to a potentially pleasing synthesis. So that's what it said. I really like this image because I can see a sense of movement in it. My eyes, when I saw this image, automatically focuses on the bottom right corner of the horse, and I can see a movement where it kind of pushes me to the back of the frame, and it brings me back to the front so I can focus on the black ice snow over there. And because it's curved in a way to the middle right corner, and I can see some geometric pattern shape play along also in this image. It's really, really nice. I really like it. Just looking at it, it gives me a sense of how people back in the days live and what they use, and it's very, it's just very historical in my opinion. It's really nice picture. Again, with the previous one I said with the winter in Fifth Avenue, working in the snow sometimes can be really difficult, especially like snow going in your lenses and stuff like that. So this is a very well-known picture, and I really wish to see it in person. The last image that I really, really like is the steerage. I don't know how to pronounce it. The steerage. This image he took during a trip with his wife and daughter to Europe. If I recall, this ship was called the Kaiser Wilhelm II, and it was supposed to sail to Bremen, Germany from New York. They were lucky enough because they got first class seats or room for this boat, while other people probably has the same class as him or not. Yeah, in this image, we can see like two classes of people living at that time. The bottom part being the more unwealthy people, and the top being more like the upper class wealthy people. Um, it, the bridge over there really separates these two classes, and um, yeah, I believe these people were supposed to be Europeans, which some were rejected from the Ellis Island, and some were on a working visa. Just by looking at it, it really symbolizes the immigrants of the beginning of the 20th century. We can see the difference in both people, like how they dress, the bottom part being more casual, the bottom part the top part, sorry, they're all like wearing suits, very high class, very edgy, and we can also see a pace of life, how I feel like stereotype, but that's not the correct word to see how these people like live with their wealth. Um, and for this, he really emphasized like formal aspects of photography, such as shape. We can see like there's like circles, triangle. I don't see a triangle. Like the circles, the shape over here and over here, like these lines. We can see some color, like the depth of it, light, tone, texture, scale, composition, and picture space. Um, this picture is very important for him because it was a turning point for him from pictorialist, which is the work wanted to be presented, but it was leaning more towards paintings or drawings and into modern photography as we know now. There's this one quote by him that I really like, which pretty much sums up this whole short introduction towards him. Is he said, "To teach America to see, and photography was the epitome of a new way of seeing." I really like that quote from him, and thank you all for tuning in to my video.